My mother-in-law handed me something under the table. My husband didn't see. But I'll never forget what happened next. I looked down. It was a check, with more zeros than I'd ever seen in my life. I whispered, "What is this?" She leaned in close. Her perfume was heavy. Too heavy. What she said next made my blood run cold. My husband had no idea what was happening. He just kept eating his dinner, smiling at his mother, trusting her completely. 6 months earlier, it all started with a dinner invitation. Nothing unusual about that, except for the way she smiled when we walked in. The kind of smile that looks polite, but never reaches the eyes. I'm a pediatric surgeon. I make $400,000 a year. My husband is a high school art teacher. He earns $55,000. And for 3 years, my mother-in-law has been dangling a $2.5 million inheritance over our heads, trying to control every decision we make. That night, I found out just how far she was willing to go. The table was set with fine china, crystal glasses. The good silver only came out when she wanted something. "I've been thinking about the inheritance," she said sweetly. My husband's fork stopped halfway to his mouth, because we both knew what was coming. "It's contingent on certain milestones," she continued. "Here we go. Grandchildren." She looked directly at me, not at my husband, at me, like I was the only one responsible for giving her what she wanted. "We've talked about this, Mom," my husband said, his voice low. "The way you talk to someone who might blow at any second. Sarah and I want to wait a few more years." "Wait." Her voice went tight, sharp. "You're 35. Your wife is 32. She let that hang in the air. Then came the knife. "The clock is ticking." I set down my wine glass carefully, deliberately. "We'll have children when we're ready." Her jaw tightened, but she smiled again. Hollow, rehearsed, fake. "Of course, dear, it's your choice." The word choice sounded like a threat. After dinner, I went to get my coat from the study. That's when I heard her voice. She was on the phone, talking to someone. And what I heard made my stomach drop. "She's not right for him," my mother-in-law said. I froze, my hand on the coat rack. He gave up Harvard Law to teach high school art because she encouraged him. And she never forgave me for it. "I've already discussed it with Richard," she continued. "Richard, her estate attorney. If certain conditions aren't met within 2 years, pause, the money goes to his sister instead." My heart started racing. My husband appeared in the doorway behind me. His face was pale. He'd heard it too. "I'm sorry," he whispered. But I wasn't sorry. I was planning. Because my mother-in-law wasn't just controlling. She was actively trying to destroy our marriage. And I wasn't going to let that happen. 3 days later, she called. "Sarah, dear, dear." She'd never called me that in 3 years. "I think we should have lunch. Thursday, the country club. Noon." Of course, the country club, where all her friends could watch. I showed up in my work clothes, fresh from a 12-hour shift, scrubs under my coat, exhaustion in my eyes. She was already seated. Impeccable posture, designer dress, pearls, hair perfectly done, looking like she owned the place. "Thank you for meeting me," she said. Like I had a choice. "What did you want to discuss?" "Your husband's future." "His future is going well," I said calmly. "He loves teaching." "Does he?" She leaned forward, lowering her voice like we were sharing secrets. "Because from where I'm sitting, my son gave up a prestigious law career to teach finger painting to teenagers." She couldn't accept it. Couldn't accept that her golden boy chose his own path. "He's following his passion," I said. "Passion doesn't pay for country club memberships, Sarah." "Good thing we don't need one." Her expression went cold. The warmth vanished. That inheritance was supposed to set him up for life. $2.5 million. She let that number hang in the air. "But there are conditions." She pulled out a folder, slid it across the table. The leather folder probably cost more than my first car. Page 7. I opened it. "Read where her manicured finger pointed." The beneficiary must demonstrate financial responsibility and family commitment within 5 years of marriage. 5 years. We'd been married 3. What exactly does demonstrate mean? It means he needs to show he's making responsible life choices. He has a steady job. We own a home. We're financially stable. You own a home. On your income. We're married. What's mine is his. Exactly my concern. I closed the folder, slowly, pushed it back across the table. This meeting is over. I stood up. Sarah, wait. No. My voice was calm. I've listened to you question my marriage for 3 years. I've sat at your table. I've smiled at your friends. I've kept my mouth shut when you insulted my career, my choices, my family. But I'm done being polite about it. I walked out, heels clicking on the marble floor. I didn't look back. But I didn't go home either. Didn't go back to the hospital. Instead, I went to see someone who could help. My mentor from medical school, Dr. Patricia Hayes. She also happened to be one of the best family law mediators in the state. She's using the inheritance to control his life, Patricia said. I showed her the documents. All of them. She read them slowly, carefully, the way she taught me to read medical charts. Then she looked up at me and smiled. This is interesting. What? The conditions aren't clearly defined. Your mother-in-law, as trustee, gets to decide what qualifies as responsible. That's subjective power. Dangerous power. Can she really do that? Trustees have a fiduciary duty. They're supposed to act in the beneficiary's best interest, not their own preferences. My heart started racing. What if we can prove she's not? Then you'd have grounds to challenge her. How? Patricia leaned back, smiled again. Document everything. For 6 months, I documented everything. Every phone call, every dinner, every passive-aggressive comment, every fake smile. I kept a notebook. Date, time, what she said, how she looked. Then my mother-in-law made her biggest mistake. She sent a formal letter from her attorney. New conditions. I read it 3 times. Each word felt like a trap. My husband had to return to law school within 1 year, or have a child within 18 months, or forfeit everything. She can't do this, my husband said. He was shaking, not from anger, from the realization that his mother would actually cut him off. Actually, I said carefully, this might be exactly what we need. Patricia reviewed the letter. This is overreach, she said. This is abuse of trustee power. We're going to remove her. My eyes widened. Can we do that? If we can prove she's violating her duty by imposing unreasonable conditions based on personal preference rather than his actual best interests? Yes, we can. We filed a petition with the probate court. A petition asking the court to remove my mother-in-law as trustee for abusing her authority. Her attorney called Patricia within 24 hours. This is unnecessary. Mrs. Morrison is willing to discuss the conditions. The conditions are the problem, Patricia said calmly. She's willing to be more flexible. She's willing to continue controlling her adult son's life. We're not interested in flexibility. We're interested in removing the control entirely. The probate hearing was set for July. Small courtroom. Just the judge, the attorneys, us, and my mother-in-law. She sat on the other side. Patricia presented our case methodically. The original trust documents. My 6 months of detailed notes. The letter. The ultimatum. Law school or baby. Choose. The judge read everything. Every page. Every note. Then he looked at my mother-in-law. Mrs. Morrison, you're the trustee. Your legal obligation is to act in the beneficiary's best interest. Can you explain how demanding your son change careers serves that interest? Your Honor, he has a law degree from Harvard waiting for him. He doesn't have a law degree. He has an acceptance letter from 7 years ago that he declined because he was influenced by his wife, his adult wife, who is a successful physician. The judge looked back at the documents, shook his head slightly. You've used this inheritance as leverage to impose your personal preferences on your son's career, marriage, and family planning. I only want what's best for him. What's best for him is to live his own life. The gavel came down. You're removed as trustee. Effective immediately. My mother-in-law stood up. This is my late husband's money. No, Mrs. Morrison. The judge's voice was firm. Final. This is your son's money. Held in trust. You were the trustee. She looked at her son. Her face, a mix of hurt and anger. I was protecting you. No, Mom. My husband's voice was quiet. You were controlling me. There's a difference. We walked out of that courtroom. The hallway was bright, and for the first time in 3 years, my husband looked free. We got the money, $2.9 million. We donated half to an art scholarship in his father's name. My mother-in-law stopped calling. She never understood that control isn't love. The inheritance set us free, and that's worth more than any amount of money.